luxury from their perspective, and becoming more merchants and people like the people are protected in the citadels and cities, and they see them as lazy. So when they get too decadent, whether in Arabic history or Indo-Aryan history, you'll get these rural or mountain people come and take over the city. So yeah, I agree with that. That's why like these anarchist societies cannot sustain themselves, because religious fanatics and rural mountain people will come and invade you and step people. So every time Rome becomes stagnant and luxurious and decadent, the barbarians are at the gates. In America, though, all the barbarians died out to smallpox due to the Spanish. So there were no barbarians at the gates to keep Americans in check from their luxury and decadence. And their two oceans and weak neighbors prevent there from being any real threat to the Americans, actually. So they make their own problems up.
Do you have photographic memory, Jim?
Mm-hmm. I really have actually really bad memory, actually.
How do you retain so much?
I don't know, but it's not photographic. I've been reading a book called Ender's Game since I was like 12. It's one of my favorite books, and every year, 2 or 3 years, I'll reread it, and I'll learn something new about the book. That's how shitty my memory is.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I guess.
I don't remember. I don't memorize too many songs. It's very hard for me to memorize an entire song in 3 verses, for example. Very difficult for me. I think there's only like 3 songs or maybe that I know from start to back. So something about me makes it really hard for me to retain and remember, even through repetition at times. I remember trying to memorize "Lose Yourself" by Eminem when it came out. That shit took me like 3 months, took 2 months or some shit to memorize. Every night I was doing it. It was a lot. So maybe I'm an emotional learner. Where something strikes me, then I'll remember that fact. But if I'm just reading something, maybe it won't. I don't know what it is about. But something is off about my memory for sure.
We're all emotional learners, too. I mean, the reality is that you gotta, a subject matter has to engage your dopaminergic pathways.
Yeah.
That's just the reality.
Knowledge is given, knowledge is received. Can all teach everybody the same material, but only a few of them might want to hear it, or are interested enough, or smart enough, right, etc., etc.
Exactly. Yeah.
That you guys make me feel at home. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought that's been one of my biggest issues. I can read so much. I'll get through it so fast, and I can only really get into something and remember if I'm really invested in it. I have something, emotionally attached to it. Interesting.
Yeah, be masters. I mean, you're still a human being. The reality is it has to have emotional salience to you to actually get the squirt of dopamine, get the squirt of noradrenaline, pay attention, to absorb, and then to increase the long-term potentiation of your hippocampus to actually store it. Not all information will hit you the same.
Thomas Sowell said some kids use $120,000 worth of education on average in America to sell drugs in schools. Some do it to make friends. Some go there to get away from their family. Very few go to learn.
Which one do you think you are, guy?
I wanted to get away from my family.
Yeah, me too.
I wanted to learn to a degree, but my parents were so strict with my learning. And it's to be fair, it's very interesting to me because now that we live in a free society where everyone can try to be an aristocrat if you want to, or an elite, very few people raise their kids as if they want to raise their kids to be elite. So if you look at East Asian parents, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, Jewish, some Middle Eastern, like Persians, they'll raise their kids as if they're elites. And some, like Indians too, some very small groups of people in certain classes. And in Korea, it's even the lower classes, middle class, and upper class women who are all doing this, which is very fascinating. So it feels like to me that the Korean women are actually all trying to raise elites, whereas most of the world around the world, they don't. They're not raising their kids to be prepared for the world. They're just letting them live what they want to do. So my parents, for example, wanted to be in the middle class so fucking bad that they love, and then like I don't know, like they just somehow love the middle class thing. Like they both loved classical music. They both played instruments growing up. They would be active in their religious organizations. There's so local institutions. Be very social, community orientated. Help people out. My mom used to. There was this mentally ill woman who used to live like mentally retarded woman who used to live like 3 doors down from my store, and she got to know her over the 20 years we had the store there, and she used to take her out shopping because nobody would, her family just abandoned her there basically. And I'm like, what if all the women in society did this in every community, where they would look for the lonely old people with no kids around and, turned it into a lively community again? And I realized that that's all been dying in America for like the last 100 years. There's a book called Bowling Alone where the guy says that until the 1980s and maybe 70s and 80s, 70% to 80% of Americans bowled with other people. Bowling leagues, friends bowling, communities going to bowl together, church groups going to bowl together. He says by the 1990s, 80% of people bowled alone. 80% of people in the 1990s were bowling alone, guys. The book is called Bowling Alone by Robert Putnam.
Thank you.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Well, you couple that also with the coddling of the American mind.
Yeah.
And regrettably, you have some Gen Xers and Gen Alphas that are ready for a complete nervous breakdown. I can see it.
Yeah, millennials too. Yeah.
Yeah, I worry sometimes. We were talking about like the personality types. I like to do a lot of things by myself too. Like I like to be alone generally. A lot of my past like things that make me comfortable. I like to take like weekend trips, like my hobbies. I like to go drive around to book sales. So whatever library is running a book sale, drive to that state. It's like 2-3 hours out of the way. Because it's just massive selection for pennies worth of books. Get a bunch, read through them, donate them back, and then I like to go get little new acquisitions like manual typewriters. So I like to refurbish them. So I'll go find something, do something like that. But I find that most of the things that I like to do when given the opportunity is alone.
For me, like I like working alone, but I also like working in a really good team of people that I can select, or all have this shared goal of trying to do the best that they can. And the ones who are not trying to create drama and just trying to get their work done, those are a pleasure to be a part of. When everybody has a unified goal, there's no drama. When I can rely on other people because they're all good at their job. Oh, chef's kiss, chef's fucking kiss.
Yes, I like that too.
Man.
But it takes everybody, sacrificing and pulling their weight and trying their best instead of making excuses all the time, right? Or even if someone has an off day, everybody else chips in to like take it off of him. I mean, I don't know. Those are really good. Go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, and the real crisis is not, there's nothing wrong with being alone. What the crisis is loneliness. It's basically the feeling that your social world, that the world you're in, is a dangerous unpredictable, untrustworthy place because of the institutions that currently exist. And of course, what you see, what as Gio's been espousing upon for the past hour I've been, just the fact that we have a mercantile class that has no loyalty. It's pretty much sociopathic. So yeah,
No, everybody in the West, bro. Look, the Jews are just the best Protestant wasps. The Jews are just the best Protestant wasps. And the Protestant wasps are mad that they're not the best. And they just want a monopoly.
Nice. Based. Yeah, I like the term managerial class.
Yeah, but that's happened. Every bureaucracy is managerial, but the bureaucracy of the man have to be. Well, this is a problem. And if you have a meritocratic bureaucracy, it's never going to be meritocratic. That's the black pill. It's only when the king can avoid the bureaucracy and have each individual and their family's reputation is on the line, and their reputation is on the line, and what they do or don't do will resonate throughout history. That is the only time things are like plantation serious. There's a German aristocratic family called Thund und Taxis, Thund and Taxis. And this family was just so fucking good at things because they were an aristocratic family. They came from a guy who, their great grandfather had joined the military and sacrificed his safety for the crown and had won a few battles, and he started this family after that. And aristocratic families individual members will all subserve themselves to the greater family name and their future lineage. And instead of everybody making money and fucking bitches, they will all work together as a family to create generational wealth so that their family down the line will be secure and their lineage will be in the longest term, secured in the longest term. And other families like freedom more than responsibility. So they're sacrificing that and rather just live chill and, not like elites and not like aristocrats. And they have their freedom and benefits. And the aristocrats, I don't know, the libertarian ideal is that everybody tries to be more aristocratic and responsible for their own family. So then they don't have to rely on others. But if everybody's family is weak, then they have to rely on others. But if their community is weak, they can't rely on others. And all they have left to depend on is the state at that point.
Yeah, the statists.
Yeah. So the true statists are non-monarchists, in my opinion. And it has to be an absolute monarchist too, because I've looked at constitutional monarchies, they essentially become democracy anyway.
Wow. Well, yeah, I guess so.
They either become oligarchies or the mercantilist British Empire is a great example. Like the British are different because they were the most oligarchic, because the nobles wrestled power away from the king again and again since the 1200s. So by the time you reach 15, 16, 1700s, even though it's a monarchy, the power of the nobles and the merchant class are growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And the merchants are able to influence politics a lot more. Same with the townspeople. Same with the peasant class. So now they're able to, threaten rebellions and things. So, yep. Then you get the Republicans who will use the poorest people for their cannon fodder. This is an interesting quote to describe what I'm trying to describe in America, where everybody uses freedom to rationalize other people using freedom in negative ways so that they can use it in their negative or positive way, right? So I think the founding fathers, some of them were Christians, some of them were theists, some of them were liberal, some of them were conservative, but everybody was justifying the liberal revolution for their own people's interests, own state's interests. They're all agreeing. to all this deconstruct the monarchy so that they could all have their freedoms, either to be more religious or less religious, more free or more responsible, etc., etc. And this quote by G.K. Chesterton really explains this really well. He says, suppose that a great commotion arises in the street about something, let us say a lamppost, which many influential persons desire to pull down. A grey-clad monk, who is the spirit of the Middle Ages, is approached upon the matter. To say in the arid manner of this old man, let us first of all consider, my brethren, the value of light. If light be in itself good, at this moment he is somewhat excusably knocked down. All the people make a rush for the lamppost. The lamppost is down in 10 minutes, and they go about congratulating each other on their unmedieval practicality. But as things go on, they do not work out so easy. Some have pulled down the lamp because they wanted the electric light. Some because it was too bright. Some because it wasn't bright enough. Some because they wanted old iron. Some because they wanted darkness because their deeds were evil. Some thought it not enough of a lamppost, some too much. Some acted like they wanted to smash. Some acted like because they wanted to smash municipal machinery. Some because they wanted to smash something. And there is war in the night. No man knowing whom he strike. So gradually and inevitably, today, tomorrow, or the next day, there comes back the conviction that the monk was right after all. And that all depends on what is the philosophy of light. Only what we might have discussed under the gas lamp, we must now discuss in the dark. So everybody finds a reason to justify destroying all our traditions and institutions and cultural norms and behavioral norms. And everybody finds a reason to take it down. But nobody understands the consequences of destroying the networks. Hello?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, that's a pretty good quote.
Sorry, I was debugging the automation in the building. Sorry.
Oh wow, who's that?
That's me.
I'm gonna follow you. What do you program?
I program Python, C#. I basically I'm an automation analyst. So pretty much I use either third-party applications like UiPath, or we use a little thing called Boston Workstation specifically for our organization. So basically .NET and .NET. I use SQL, of course, to build reports and Python. Yeah.
What's the product that you're automating?
Essentially, what it is it's a custom-built automation that pulls remits from the Georgia Medicaid website. It's pretty much every week we need to pull remits to show all the claims that have been paid to our hospitals. And so it iterates through each unit number, which is the designation for a hospital, and basically migrate. Goes to the Georgia website. Chooses a specific area, types in the NPI number. Migrates to that area, downloads the PDF, and then saves it to like a folder in our network drive. That's pretty much it. I'm having issues with the HTML elements because Georgia Medicaid website is a little weird.
I hate to interrupt. Can I ask a question to be Master or Geo or anybody in the room, and then also try to demonstrate a point about complexity? The question is, and I'll just let me ask be Master first because I think you're confused on this topic. which is describe to us, your fellow citizens, how inflation is happening in this country today.
The money supply continues to increase. The amount of goods that people are buying stays relatively stable, or goes up slightly, and the amount of basically the money supply is increasing faster than the goods that people want to buy, and therefore the goods cost more money. But even if they didn't, the increase in the money supply itself is what the inflation is. Like Trump just did the thing with the Tic Tacs. Like it was actually terribly done. I don't know if you saw it, but he was like, "Here, look, Tic Tacs. Now there are more Tic Tacs." That's inflation. I mean, if those were dollars, then that's exactly what inflation is. I'm actually surprised they didn't make more fun of him because, like, even though he was making a correct point, he said it very, very badly, and it would have, all the TDS and the media should have pounced more. I mean, they used to pounce more.
Biden, he's got that old man a gate face, where the mouth is open, like that frozen face.
This is elder abuse, man.
I know. You have to call it like you see it. And there's significant cognitive decline. It's the way it is.
No, not you. I'm saying the Democrats putting
the Democrats.
Yes.
Well, what do you call putting Kamala up? Like idiot abuse or?
Hoe abuse. When you allow a hoe to get to too high of a position that everybody in the country knows.
Yeah, but we'll see if she becomes. It'll be interesting. I think it's purely down to demographic shifts if she wins, and it will signal like, okay, we're pretty fucked now. Not because of her specifically or her policies, just the fact that if the country would vote for her, it shows how stupid and racist, people are.
This society is the best example to me to not be liberal and to be Christian. And I don't even want to be Christian, honestly.
So, I mean, it sounds to me like you guys are not hitting 800, but, hitting like 275. And so, you have, my opinion, I read scripture all the time. I publish scripture, and I just view it as being psychological reconditioning. And whether you're atheist or agnostic, I don't think you can deny the principle of programming. I know the former speaker was talking about a website, how it's weird. Well, your English language is weird. History is weird. People on this app, weird. You yourself, you should probably consider yourself, the W word. It's better than the N word.
I love that word. It keeps me open-minded.
You guys have heard of the weird acronym, right? Western educated, industrialized. What does the R stand for? by Heinrich in 2010. And he used weird to describe a lack of diversity in research. Weird stood for Western educated industrial rich and democratic society.
What a premise. I'm live streaming this on YouTube, Instagram, X, and Clubhouse to you. My good friend Hermes, touch your toes today. Take a deep breath.
At least when I'm talking about liberals, man.
Okay, but they value during the sun.
I thought about something good today. The word God is a mantra, and the real meaning of God is to go, or goad, to goad people. But then dog is do. Isn't that interesting? Go and do are the two primary words, which is karma.
How else are you going to give us? And the women are like, you know, there's a study that just came out that showed that the number one issue that is on women's list is abortion. Economy is important on the most important issue. And then if you look at how important those issues are, like
Okay, everybody, this is Adrian. This room is called God Dog Go Do.
how did you come up with that name? That's hilarious.
I was in the shower and I was thinking about the word God. And then I thought about how mantras work. And then I realized that when people are praying to God, what they're really trying to do is create an algorithm to go do something. That's the point of to-do lists. But God dog is go do. Those are the root words. Go do or do go. Do go. Go do. Go do go do go do go. It's a mantra.
No, I meant your Adrian name.
So what are you doing today? Ooh. What was that? I have no plans yet. I'm still meditating and trying to determine whether or not breakfast is over or breakfast is just beginning. You know, it's funny. During breakfast, there's no such thing as lunch or dinner. They do not exist in the real world.
I was talking to one of your fans last night. You know, Ethan, right? The really young guy that does those creator rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was I forgot how we. Oh yeah. We were just talking about bread that we made. And I was like, yeah.
his rooms. It was just trolling it. He thought it was hilarious, right? It's funny.
Yeah, he's, I think that kid's onto something. It's like a long, slow journey, and it may never manifest, but the kid, if you can get in front of a camera, that means you can do public speaking, and public speaking is commonly, said to be rated higher than the fear of death. So, it takes courage to put yourself in front of a camera and expose your stupidity or insanity to the world.
His father, and he's always real careful to not mention his name or like the work he's done. But when he does talk about his dad, supposedly his dad is like a big, giant, famous celebrity back in the day. Like he's retired. His father's retired now, and supposedly that's how Ethan has been able to make some of the connects.
Oh, that's interesting.
Networking.
Because it's kind of interesting in terms of like commercialization and advertising and branding and marketing and all that. These influencers are, they're not, I don't know. It's just it's very sly marketing. YouTube, I used to work at Google, and I used to sit next to the YouTube team, and it was amazing because the woman who ran the Chicago YouTube office, she was married to my best friend's older brother. And, but I would hear how they would like have conversations with YouTube stars, YouTube influencers, and talk about the branding campaign that, Procter and Gamble wants to do. So those conversations and who these people are, and really just because they're basically so generic, because they don't ever say anything controversial. It's basically like family TV, and it's just so amazing how nefarious branding and advertising is. Because I know that the SEC has these disclosure laws where you have to solicit or proffer or advertise, like visibly, that this is a paid advertisement. And publicity basically is the opposite of direct response advertising. And so, I've been working in media buying for a lot of years, and I went to this DCMA ad. It's called the DCMA. It's the Direct Marketing Collateralization, like advertising agent, or direct marketing collated advertising. It's the mailers, all the junk mailers. So they have an annual trade show called DMCA. Anyways, there was a company there that does for-profit television advertising, or what's called performance TV or performance advertising, meaning that they take a percentage of your net or a percentage of your gross, but you don't pay for the media. You just pay for performance. So you pay per transaction. And I was at this other trade show, and I met this guy who had like an electric license plate bracket that would like do LED scrolling. So I created a website called like electriclicenseplate.com, and it was on Home Shopping Network, and we were running ads on this performance network TV, and we were generating hundreds and hundreds of sales for this stupid LED light bracket. But anyways, if you can create a product or a marketing or a pitch, you can run your media on a performance basis and pay nothing out of pocket. And that's really how to create something out of nothing. That's, meaning that you don't have to have any budget to spend. I mean, you are paying per sale. And so it's basically just an arbitrage or a math equation. And you're like, look at that. I'm creating money out of thin air. And when you're doing $1,000 a day in net, you're like, God, this is a miracle. And then when you go to 10,000 a day, you're like, this is a bigger miracle. So I do hope to get back into basically the direct response advertising industry, because when I was a caddy, I used to work for this guy named Mr. Blywas, who was just a golfer, and him and his wife. And I was like, what did you do for your career, Mr. Blywas? He was like, basically, I invented the infomercial. I was like, you invented the infomercial? He's like, look it up. He's like, I ran one of the biggest advertising agencies in Chicago, and all they did was infomercials. That was their whole thing. Was they would work with consumer packaged good manufacturers or whatever, but he did the infomercial when people really used to watch TV in the 70s and 80s and 90s or whatever. So that's how he became rich, and he loved his wife. Him and his wife were just so happy, and they just enjoyed golfing and being outside and that exercise, because golfing is like a light exercise. When you finish 18 holes, you're pretty exhausted. You'd really
Yeah.
a lot of calories, and it's hot out.
So how's your love life? When are you getting married?
Married? I'm already married.
Really? I didn't know that. I thought you were single.
According to Rabbi Maimonides, every woman you've ever slept with is your wife. So I'm at like 157 wives.
That's how they do it. They mark you by peeing on you.
My cousin told me one time, I've heard so many dirty scat stories. I'm just like, it's so gross. I'm not into that. Actually, I was in the bathtub one time with this girl that I loved, and I like peed. I had to pee, and she got so pissed. Holy shit. Like, fucking pissed.
You should have said, hey, didn't you pee on me last night?
She's like, did you just piss on me? I was like, maybe just a little bit. She's like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, whoa. Whoa.
You were at her place, or she was at your
I was at
place?
her place. We were in her bathtub.
Oh. So I bet after you left, she scrubbed down that tub.
I don't think so. She's just being a bitch. Anything I get, that's the thing. It's like some people are just rageaholics, and they're actually kind of depressed. So when they rage, that's like the only that's what they're missing in their life.
Welcome to Clubhouse.
Yeah, road rageaholics.
Road rage on social media. Oh my god. You know what? They should make an app just for those kinds of individuals that love to get their road rage every morning, their dose, and they should call it road rage.
I like how when you insult people, then they kick you or they send you to the goot. They go right back to the conversation as if like your lobbed insult didn't hit. They just pretend you're a non-entity and didn't say anything correct or insulting, like to their core. They just go right on with the conversation as if you didn't exist. I just find, but it stings, because when somebody kicks you, it like that means that like you've left a stinger in them, and they can't, like, they think they get it out by kicking you, but when you land a neural, word implant, which is true, it like strikes a chord, and thus you get the boot. But
That was funny yesterday. Shanito. I didn't really understand exactly what he was upset about, but he's like really upset at Steve Bell. But I've noticed that lately Steve Bell's been pissing off people left and right. Before me, it was John Scalia, his like best friend for 20 years, according to him, right? And he had always been part of that show, Stephen Bell, on that Sunday show. And when John had it out with El Normo, Stephen Bell knows El Normo to know this weird. Did you get with them any of that?
no, I just repacked my bowl. You said something about Shanito, though, right?
Yeah, because remember yesterday you went into a room where I was in there, Shanito was in there, and you played a clip of Steve Appel.
Oh.
You triggered. That was hilarious, dude. That is so funny. Do that more often. 'Cause I had a
Uh, that was live, actually. That was Steve live. That
Oh,
wasn't.
that was live?
That was not a
Oh.
recording of Steve. No.
Dude, you need to record that whenever you can, something like that, and then come into a room and play the recording. Because, to get it live every single time would be difficult, right?
That's so funny. I never thought actually creating a fake Steve account would be great. I thought about creating a fake Steve and a fake Jay.
That
Yeah.
would be amazing. Dude, you need to create a house called Atheism Not or something like that. And then have a fake Steve account. Oh my god.
You would piss him off to no end.
And then I'm gonna come in there and you'll just like love on me, because he hates me now.
I apologized to him, and because I called him an asshole, and like I'm telling you, apologies work miracles. Like I have made many apologies. Once I realized that like apologies really work, I was like, oh my god, it's such a blessing to ask for an apology or to say you're sorry. Because it like truly inverts.
In what universe is that?
No, I'm talking about multiverse. Like string theory, apologies is what manipulates the string. Or destiny, basically.
Right. Or you can just cut the string.
No, you can't. The string's unbreakable. It's called the long gray line. And that actually has to do with physics and Einstein. I was just listening to this guru talk about the speed of light and how that's the only fixed constant in the entire universe. So all of everything is based off of light principles.
Here's what's really cool. John Malincrone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I challenge him all the time because John is he's retired. He retired a long time ago, so he hasn't really kept up with all of the leading edge science. Because Tyson and Brian Greene and Sean Carroll talk about on YouTube and all the stuff that they do. And these are the guys that are writing books, right? That universities are using to teach brand new physics students. And one of the things that they're really pushing now is the existence of the multiverse parallel universe theory. And it's no longer a think or a theoretical theory. They're no longer using that language. Now they're using, we know it exists, we have the map, and sometime, there's no mistake that this clearly exists. All we're doing now is just looking for the evidence. But we know it exists. They need to have the observation. Right? And so I shared all of this information with John. And it's funny how John has been very resistant to this new scientific evidence or principles, right? Or theories. But it's understandable because and now particular industry for a decade. New stuff is always developed. You sort of, you're not constantly active learning this new stuff that you sort of get the on. And I was telling you that. Oh, well. But one thing that really noticed about Steve is nuts. I mean, now I get it. I think he used to be like a radio host announcer, right? Like a Wolfman Jack type. or maybe I know he's always wanted to, and I think he did do something. Yeah, dude, you should make. What would be your name? I guess it could be exactly the same, right? Steve Bell. Or maybe just be something like that he's the evil twin and you're the good angel. So maybe Stephen Bell, the good angel version. Bell, the real one. I hope you do it. When you do it, man, take me up with Steve did something to piss off Shanita after he left that room.
Mm-hmm.
It was Marcher, yeah. Shanita just went off like, oh yeah, I thought that was Steve. And if that was Steve, I was going to tell him that he needs to apologize. So Shanita wants an apology from Steve. And I told Shanita, good luck waiting on that. And even if he gives you one, it's never going to be a sincere apology.
You know, I got one time I was waiting for a flight back to Chicago from Vegas, and it was 8 hours delayed. So I was like insanely angry. Anyways, I went to the employee there, and I was like, "Hey, you know, can I get compensated for this?" She's like, "Yeah, let me give you a $250 voucher." So I go up to another gate. I'm like, "Hey, I've been over there 8 hours." She's like, "Oh no." I said, "Can you give me any kind of compensation for this?" She's like, "Yeah, let me give you a voucher." I was like, "Holy shit." I was like, "I'm going to fucking keep getting all these $250 vouchers." So, anyways, I'm sitting there, and the first woman comes up to me. She goes, "Excuse me, did you go up to another gate and get another voucher?" I said, "No." And she goes, "You're lying." She says, "I'm canceling both your vouchers." She was like, "Have a great day." And I was like, excuse me. And I said, if you cancel either of them, I'm going to tell everybody here they're entitled to $250 vouchers and that it's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars. And she's like, have a good day, sir. So anyways, God, I came up to her and I started filming her. I was like, why is this plane delayed? You know? And then she went bananas. Like, put your phone away. I'm calling the police. So the police come and they're like, ma'am, we can't arrest him and we can't stop him from filming. This is a public place. She's like, that's wrong. And this is illegal. I'm calling the captain. The captain comes off and he's like, sir, if you don't apologize to her and delete the footage, we're not going to fly you to Chicago. You can stay here all day long. We don't give a fuck. I was like, okay.
That should be illegal.
I was like, okay, fine. I'll apologize. So, like they wanted to watch me apologize. So I come up to her. I said, Tammy, like what I'm saying, like my apology was sincere, but at the same time, it was like so comical. And then afterwards, she goes, very sincere. And then the captain looks at me. He goes, if you make a fucking peep on that plane, he goes, I'll land that bitch and have you arrested. I was like, don't worry, I won't say a thing. And I was like, wow.
See that? I believe that's an abuse of perceived power. Because could he legally have you arrested?
Yeah.
What would he say?
He would just say he was causing a disturbance on the plane and we felt threatened. And that's it. That's enough. That's it.
Well, thank God you have an iPhone.
Another time, I sat in a business class, and this gay flight attendant's like, "Show me your ticket." He's like, "Get back to economy now." So
Get back to what?
he's like, "Get up and go to your seat in a." He's like, "Get up and go to your seat in economy now." So
Oh my
I,
gosh.
I stand up, and this guy, and I had a Cubs hat on. He's like, "Hey, loser." He's like, "The Cubs suck." He's like, "And you can't afford to sit up here." And I was like, "Wow." So, anyways, in the middle of the flight, the gay flight attendant comes up to me. He shakes me like I was sleeping. He shakes me. He goes, "Wake up, sir. When we land in Chicago, the police will be waiting for you for attempted theft." And I was like, "Wow." And then this woman sitting next to me, she goes, "Here's my business card. I'm an attorney, and what they're doing to you right now is crazy." She's like, "I will stay with you until you leave this airport. Don't worry." So I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much, ma'am." So as I'm leaving the plane, this woman, are you on the phone? Otherwise, I won't continue the story. Max, do you want to say anything? This is called God Dog Go Do. This is like my morning podcast. I hope you're enjoying yourself. This is also live on X. It's hashtag politics, philosophy, economics, psychology, and talk therapy, as well as Clown House in economics, philosophy, psychology, politics. Anyways, Hermes, are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I go to exit the flight, and they're blocking me from leaving the plane. And this woman, this like 4'10" woman, is like, "Sir, step to the side." I'm like, "Are you detaining me?" She's like, "Sir, stop talking. Step to the side." I'm like, "Are you detaining me?" And I had a huge backpack on, like one of those, backpacker backpacks. I was blocking. No one could get past me because of this fucking backpack. It's like taking up the whole, little aisle there. So, anyways, she's like, "Sir, just step off the plane." So then they like wouldn't let me go for like 30 minutes, questioned me, and then I had a conversation with the gay flight attendant, and then I was like, she's like, "Sir, would you like to apologize?" I was like, "Yes." I was like, "I would like to apologize and say I'm sorry for causing a disturbance." I was like, "You were in the right, but I also want to let you know you're a loser." And then he went bananas. And like, it was fucking, she's like, "Sir, get out of here." It was hilarious. Like, and the funniest thing is I filmed it all and I put it on YouTube. It had like 40,000 views, 60,000 views before United somehow got Google YouTube to delete the video and delete the whole account.
See that? I got a problem with them deleting that content because it happened. It wasn't like you made it up.
Yeah, it was a non-violent customer dispute, but it's such bad publicity for United because listen, I went to the pot shop yesterday and they wouldn't let me enter because my driver's license has a hole in it, a puncture in it. I was like, "Are you guys the government? All you do is scan the back of it anyways." They're like, "Sir, if your driver's license is mutilated in any way, shape, or form, we can't allow you to enter the store." I was like, "Wow." I was like, "You guys are the government now." He's like, "Have a good day, sir." I'm like, "You too."
See, and that was a dispensary.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's why the good old fashioned weed guy is never going to disappear, especially here in Texas.
I doubt it. All these dispensaries will become as common as McDonald's. They'll sell you a cheeseburger and a fucking joint at the same time in the future. I promise you. There will be combo restaurant dispensaries.
That would be nice, right? I mean, instead of lettuce, you get a little bit of cannabis.
They already have pot shop restaurant cafes in LA. Miley Cyrus owns like the biggest one on Wilshire.
One Wilshire. I used to do business on one Wilshire.
Yeah.
AT&T's biggest data center is on one Wilshire.
Yeah, I know. I used to live right there. I used to work on Wilshire for these Orthodox Jews that made a fucking fortune, and then they left. They fucking fled. They went to Sydney. They're worth like 200 million. Is all through telecom. They made all the money from Sprint, Verizon, AT&T. It was all what's called it's like stacking or cramming is what they call it, and it was all with these. I tried to do it myself too. I only made like 100,000, and I have friends that made millions. But these guys were the biggest of the big. They made hundreds of millions. It was all fraud in the end. They just bill your cell phone $14.99 a month and blend it, and they blend it. Next thing you know, you're $59.99 a month, $69.99, 99 is now like $113.85, and you're like, why did it go up? It doesn't say why. But anyways, they all had. I could show you the links. They had to do all these settlements. California is actually probably under Kamala. Kamala might have been the. I don't know if she had anything to do with it, but anyways, these guys made out like bandits, and I stopped working for them because they didn't want to pay for my parking. So I was like, you know what, you fucking cheap Jew motherfuckers. I'm going to go work for these other people who made me a better offer that will pay for my parking. You fucking cheap bastards.
That's so stupid, right? I mean, they're making millions, 200 million. I mean, you can't pay for your employees' parking.
But they were like Solomon testing me. They were finding out like how cheap I was or how in it I was. Like I could have stayed with them and probably made $1 million. I fucked up. Because if they were doing it, I could have done it. But who knows? Maybe I would have gone to jail. Maybe they would have gotten scot-free. They weren't even U.S. citizens. They were like from South Africa.
Oh, shit. Dude, you would have gone to jail. You would have stayed. The universe pulled you out to save you.
Yeah, because I know this other guy that went. I know 2 people that went to jail, and one guy I think is still on the run, and he lives in Africa now. His name was he was the coolest guy out of all of them because he like threw these elaborate parties. His name was Rolo Dolo or a Romo Dolo or a Rolo Dolo. I think he's still on Instagram. So this is God Dog Godot. Oh.
On his back.
I was laughing the other day because I was talking to you one time and I was like, guys that don't want to pay for a girl, like to take a girl out and have dinner with her, it's like you Solomon test her. That's like you basically pay for like a situation. And if you're not willing to pay for that situation, like then you don't understand a girl got to eat, but you also don't understand, but it's like a puta test. They're all putas. They're all putas. I've never met like a woman who basically wasn't basically a devourer. Even your wife really is technically in many ways a puta. I was laughing with Ishmael the gorilla on here. I was like, could you imagine being a cop and being like in the south side of Chicago and just like sitting in your car having lunch and you're just observing all these people doing all this crazy shit and just like from like a anthropological standpoint, like for like observational science, human science, you're just like, God damn, like I cannot believe this shit. Like the way people, but that's just our shit. But if you go to India, you will see shit. In India, there are people like we're talking about hundreds of millions that literally have nothing, that live day to day, like, and they have nothing, like, except for just like.
You're saying in India?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude! The politicians, part of their campaign, like here, it's always you hear the when he's campaigning, right? They talk about lowering taxes or whatever, or schools or whatever, the border or whatever, right? Over there, one of the topics that they always bring up as to run on for their campaign is a toilet in everyone's home. Literally. I was like, you're kidding me, right? And you can find clips of these politicians. Imagine Donald Trump saying, I promise that everyone will have a toilet in your home.
Oh God, could you imagine?
So they're known. Part of the culture, that this is what people don't see because people take it down, right? Like what they did to you. They make holes. They go outside and they make holes in the grass or dirt or
Yeah.
whatever and crap and then cover it up, right? And so some newly arrived immigrants from India, it was somewhere on the East Coast. Did you hear about it? That they went to a beach. It was a big family and friends, and there was like 20 people, 20 Indian immigrants, right? And they all started defecating on the beach and then covering it up. And a little girl that was building the sandcastle, found a turd in the sand.
My dad used to have a beat. He'd go up and down the street, and he'd go in the Indian bank, and they called the police because, like, yeah, we have a customer who keeps shitting in our sink and like washing his ass after he shits in our sink. So my dad went over there one
No
time.
way, really?
He's like, yeah, he's like, sir, he's like, if you come in this bank and shit in their sink one more time, he's like, I'm gonna put you in jail for the rest of your fucking life. The guy like never came back.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so that's part of the campaign slogan. Imagine that, right? Kamala Harris, she's speaking at the PNC. You see her image in the back, and then in letters right next to her face is a toilet in every home.
Do you know at K2 there's like it's a mountain of frozen turds at the top of K2?
Oh yeah, because where do you go to the bathroom, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you finally get there and you're like, God damn, I gotta take a shit. And then so the whole thing is like frozen turd up there. So now they have a law that if you go up there, you have to bag your shit. You are not allowed to shit at the top of K2 anymore because every year like a couple hundred people go up there and drop deuces.
Right. Damn. And so the stuff that's there, it's gonna get fossilized. And
Yeah.
in about 1,000 years, they're gonna be, what the fuck, man? Was there a whole civilization up here? They're not gonna realize that people were just climbing the fucking mountain for fun and had to take a shit at some point.
Well, I mean, think about all the livestock that have, run across this green earth for thousands upon thousands of years. I mean, even the dinosaurs, it's like, where did all the turds go?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. And did you know this, or you aware of this, that there is evidence from many ancient cultures that man actually saw dinosaurs, our ancient brothers?
Yeah, but I mean, an alligator, crocodiles, what's the fucking difference today? I mean, I can go look at one of those giant fucking reptiles and be like, yeah, that's a fucking dinosaur. That's what's left.
Yeah. So, like, it was mainly because of the Mayans and some of the older, smaller Mesoamerican tribes. They left depictions on their pottery and on some of the cave art dwellings.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this really famous temple in India that has a Sagittarius, the dinosaur. I think it's called Sagittarius. He's the lizard that sort of has like his whole back has got these big giant scales. They look like some kind of what do you call it? Solar cell type thing. But anyway, so they have this depiction of this dinosaur on their temple, carved into their temple, right? And clearly, man has always carved or left some kind of, when you see that, you gotta ask yourself, is that something that they saw, right? That they actually saw, which is usually the case when they see something, especially something strange, it goes on the temple, right? Or they want to keep a record of it,